I can end your eternity. Make you immortal.
What they did to me, what I am, it can't be undone. What they did to me, what I am, it can't be undone.
There's a hole in the earth, hole in the earth.
No power in the verse can stop me.
What's going on, guys? My name is Eldeniro, and welcome to episode 89 of The Midnight Hour. I'm joined today by Jack,
Woo!
regular co-host. As
Now, regular
always.
again.
Yeah.
Regular once more.
Every 5 to 7 episodes, he disappears for 5 to 7 months, and
Yeah.
we're in one
It's,
of the
yeah,
good
it's,
years.
it's actually been impressive recently how much life has tried to kick me.
Yeah, Jesus. It's been impressive and terrifying, but
Yeah.
here you
I'm
are.
still absolutely buzzing about life.
Yeah. You're just standing there with like burned clothes on one half, the other half torn by some giant bear or something, and you're just
That's
like,
not far off.
need to podcast. Must podcast. But yeah, we have another podcast lined up today. Am I right?
Yep, fact.
Who is the do you remember Lefty from PKA?
Yeah.
He used to always start off his videos by saying the type of video that it was. So he'd be like, hey, what's going on, guys? It's Lefty back again with another gameplay commentary. This is of the live right. And it's like, we can tell most of
Yeah.
that stuff.
We know.
Yeah, you don't need to like overstate the type of video that you're making when you're really just making it to talk about stuff. So that's good. I'm glad I took the time out to
Yeah.
explain that. My
Yeah,
mind
okay.
is I've been like yourself. I have been lacking sleep lately, and it's had like this weird effect on my focus. And I think
Yeah.
part of it is that it's summer now, so like the sun is out all the time, and I'm just so not used to that. It's completely fucked up my circadian rhythm, and like I'm just all over the place. So I will say lots of things that will be uncharacteristic and will seem quite strange to you.
Yep.
But just know, it's not the drugs. It is in fact the opposite. It is the lack of drugs that's killing me. So
Yeah. Mine's the, yeah. There we go, that's the first instance. I've already fucked this up.
we'll start again.
No, let's just keep it rolling. This is what makes us charming.
There is no way I could start the podcast again.
We've already been talking for at least 3 hours.
Oh man, the fucking part at the end of the show where I played the start of the show, it's just gonna be like the 3 hours of the two of us talking about why Mussolini was a strong and stable leader.
That's exactly how I feel about everything you just said.
Okay, so speaking of, we're gonna talk about school because the other
Oh,
day
God.
I was like, hey yo, what do you bitches, what the fuck is wrong with me?
Oh my god, this is going to be the best episode ever.
I was like, yo, listen guys, we need some questions, and you are the ones who would traditionally ask the questions. So you
are the
asked
people that
the
listen
questions.
to this.
The first question, by the way, is, are traps gay? Are you familiar with this conundrum, this meme?
I'm going to say no and seem very naive. I'm very much a child of the internet, and yet somehow this one's passed me by.
Is that true?
Yeah.
Okay, I am going to explain it to you and actually get you to answer
Please
the
do.
question. It's a meme, like, this is a really popular thing on 4chan, which somehow manages to be the most anti-trans place in the world and also the most pro-trans porn place in the world. It's really interesting. A trap is a derogatory and pejorative term used to describe a transgendered person. Like,
Okay.
so I think a trap is a very, very girly boy.
Right.
I think, yeah, like, it can be a boy that's, like, on estrogen pills and has breasts, but also has a dick. And on 4chan, that type of porn is really, really, really popular. And,
Naturally.
yeah, obviously. So the question is, are traps gay? Because it seems as though the amount of people who indulge in trap porn is proportionally way higher than the number of people who identify as homosexual or actually view homosexual porn. So there is almost no synergy between people who watch gay porn and people who watch trans porn.
Interesting.
Yeah, so the question is, are traps gay? And this was asked by a guy called Dan James, who has his own podcast, and he discussed it on his podcast.
I think Dan's hoping for the answer to be no.
Well, the answer is actually no, because
the answer is no, because gender is fiction and none of it
Yeah.
even exists. So
nothing can be gay or straight.
nothing can be gay or straight when none of it even really exists.
There is no male or female. There is no penis. These are imaginary constructs created by George Lucas.
That's actually completely true.
Yeah, no, it is. George Lucas invented the dick.
Mm-hmm.
But here's why traps aren't gay. It's because I fucking hate the term traps, by the way. Like, fucking grow up. You, like, honestly, just grow up.
You can't tell 4chan to grow up.
I know, it's sad.
It's like telling someone that's like telling a terrorist stop bombing people. It's just
Hey, you, stop it.
just put it down. No, bad.
So, we're not attracted to genitalia. We're attracted to body types and, like, different, like, what comprises an attraction to a female is not what's under her clothes. You know what I mean? Like, we're attracted to facial features, and we're attracted to, like, the way eyes look. We're attracted to body shapes. Like, we're attracted to hips that look like they could hold a decent enough kid in them. And if a guy happens to possess all of those things without, you know, radiating the fact that they have a dick, then you're going to be attracted to it, and it's not going to be gay. And that's pretty simple. And, you know, if you like tranny porn, then, you know, go ahead and do it.
More power to you.
Yeah, don't worry about being gay.
Who cares?
So, I'm glad we addressed that, because a lot of people were, you know,
Addressed that very early on.
at least 1,800 people tweeted me that question. So
Thanks for bringing that number back into my life almost immediately. For anyone that doesn't know and won't know, because, I mean, why would you? I have just, literally 10 minutes ago, told Elle about my devastation of having to spend £1,800 on a new travel card to get to work. And he just fucking stabs me in the back and brings it up straight away.
It's really weird that I didn't even know I was doing that. I was just like, here's a round figure that is a lot of people. Probably the number of listeners we have. Yeah, let's throw that in there. So if you all donate £1, you can get Jack to work every day.
Oh my god, please don't send me to work.
Please send him the money.
Please just send me the money so I don't have to go to work.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
That would be way more ideal.
So listen, we're here to talk about one thing and one thing only, and that is school and various other things.
And traps, apparently.
Yeah. So a lot of people have been asking about school lately. A lot of people have been like, yo, would you do an episode on school? And I'm like, episode 36, guys, check it out. It's titled School. Might be 37, I'm not sure. I think it's 36. But yeah, so we spoke about school in that episode, and we're just going to do the same thing again because Jack wasn't on that episode. So, you know, this is part 2 of an episode that for us is going to be a part 1, and we'll try to take it in different places because, to be honest, I don't remember the fucking school episode at all, and I'm sure none of you do either. So
School episode part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Here we are. So, listen, the first question that no, I'm not. There is no more questions. There are no more questions. This is going to be a conversation from here on out.
Are you completely sure about that?
No.
I didn't think so.
Listen, I spent the last 2 years of my school doing absolutely fucking nothing. I already had my place in college, which didn't require any positive education results in the school that I was in, because I went to Scotland and they didn't know how the Irish education system works, and I was like, yeah, I passed, and they were like, oh, okay. And I was like, do you want to see
good
any...
for you. Well done.
Yeah, they didn't ask for any proof whatsoever, which
That's
is good
handy.
because I barely
Had
passed.
none.
Yeah, I don't even know how many points I got in the Leaving Cert for the Irish people listening, but it's like under 300. So a lot of people think that I'm smart, and people come to me for advice and stuff, and like I'm
You just
not.
laugh in their face.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I don't know how I've managed to radiate such intellect to the point
Oh,
that
you
it...
fools!
Yeah. So, yeah, therefore, when people ask me, how do I study for exams? How do I cope with the stress of exams? The truth is, I don't know, because I never did any of that. So I was hoping that maybe you could shed some light on this conundrum for people.
Yeah. So, on the flip side to that, my primary school education was very bog standard as a child, and then I went to a grammar school. For those of you that may not know what a grammar school is, I had to pass a test when I was 10 or 11 to get into my secondary school of choice. And it wasn't like an expensive test or anything like that. It wasn't a private school, it's a state school.
It's where you have to kick yourself in the head. That's the test, isn't it?
Yeah.
And if
you can kick
do
yourself in the head, you don't get in. But they don't tell you that until after you've kicked yourself in the head.
Yeah, so you have to try really hard to do it. And
yeah.
Was that how you damaged your cruciate ligament at the time?
That's how I damaged every ligament at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, so I had to do what was called the 11 plus. That probably I don't think that gives away where I'm from, but I mean London. Fuck it.
London is a small place, so
London's a tiny place. I'm sure one of you will bump into me at some point.
He lives in 12 London Street.
Worryingly accurate. But yeah, and then I did a bunch of shit in school. Did some stupid shit in school. I also decided that when it came around to do my A-levels, that I should take chemistry, physics, drama, and English literature.
Oh yeah, they all combine into one ultimate thing.
Yeah, to become a
lot of overlap in those.
An eloquent failure is, I think, what actually came out of that. But
that's good. At least you were a certain type of failure, not just a regular failure.
Yeah. So after a year of attempting to do chemistry, physics, etc., I failed quite spectacularly, and then left that school to go and do actual things I enjoyed, like photography and film studies, and that worked out way better.
And how did you get into that course with
photography and film studies, or my university degree?
Well, how did you get to have a university degree if you failed your drama, physics, chemistry, and English?
Yeah, so I went to a college after that, so I was a year behind all of my peers. So there is no shame in that whatsoever, as I insist to myself. No, legitimately, like there is no shame in the way that I have no shame in the way that I went about things, because it meant that I switched from doing something I hated to something I thoroughly enjoyed.
And you have a job in the industry that you were.
I have a job in the industry that I wanted, so all in all, came out all right. Really.
And you never had to kick yourself in the head. That's correct.
Never once have I kicked myself successfully in the head. No.
Yeah. Tried many times. of
Tried
course.
many
Yeah,
times.
never could
It's
quite
that's
get
the
it.
reason I go to the gym, and it's the reason I stretch.
Yeah.
It's for that prime. Unfortunately, my leverages. I've got a very long torso.
Yeah.
Yeah, really not in favour of kicking myself in the head.
Yeah, that's always let you down.
Yeah, it really has.
That long torso.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. You did like an access course type thing. I think that's what they're called.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. Yeah, I did one of those too. I did a higher national diploma in business management, which you would think I would have used because I've worked in finance for the last 2 years. But no, I have never once consulted the Myers-Briggs fucking hypothesis or whatever that thing is supposed to be, or the McGregor's X and Y management. Never did any of that. I don't like those. Have no real world
Application to anything.
not in finance anyway.
Nope.
Now that being said, I'm not like a manager, and the course was business management, but I was a supervisor for like 6 months, and I didn't use it there either. So yeah, that's kind of I guess like
What does that tell you?
one of the ultimate sources of pain at the heart of my education career from a very young age. I couldn't articulate it at a young age, but I did get the sense that a lot of what I was doing was useless in the real world. Like from the time where, like, when my teacher would try and teach maths to me, it would just hurt my brain. Like, I would feel my brain like swelling up from trying to think really hard. It used to pulsate, and I hated it, and I just couldn't wrap my head around it. And now I am a transfer agent, and I have to do account reconciliations every day, and that requires maths, and I have to process payments, and that requires maths. You know what I do? I use a fucking calculator.
Yep.
So
I remember a lot of my cousins were on the back end. My older cousins were on the back end of the whole "you'll never have a calculator in your pocket everywhere you go" kind of thing from a lot of teachers, and it's just like, well, yeah, you will, because fucking it's called improvement in the world, and it happens rapidly.
Literally
So
have a
get on.
calculator in my pocket everywhere I go, and that is just a truth about the world.
I have more there's more computing power in the engine block of my car than there was in the Apollo 11 spacecraft. I think the phone in my pocket could do slightly better than that as well.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I think just that that source of frustration of just going to school every day knowing that you're never going to use this stuff in the real world, that fucking sucked. We did a really cool thing in my last 2 years of school where religion was introduced as a leaving cert subject for people who wanted to do it, and I didn't want to do it, so I had basic religion, which was not actually about religion at all. It was basically moral development. So that was where I first learned that was the first time ever in my life that I was taught something well enough that it made me change like a fundamental belief I had, and that was about revenge and the death penalty and stuff. I used to be totally in favor of that, and I used to be very strongly anti-immigration and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I used to absolutely hate feminism, and I used to...
the edgy teenage phase, yes.
Yeah, but like, I would never say that I was that I was a racist or anything, but I definitely didn't want people from other countries coming to my country, and I definitely could never explain why if you were to ask me.
Yeah.
But I would be offended at the idea that someone would ask why when I thought the answer was so obvious.
So obvious.
Yeah, and this was until I was like 16, 17, so... Well, I left school when I was 17, so it was more like 15, 16.
Yeah.
But yeah, I used to be so strongly the opposite to the person that I am now. So that's pretty cool, and that's something that I actively remember taking part in, and that's a piece of education that's actually served me pretty well. And I don't think I can say that about many other classes that I had, and I don't think that they do enough of that, like, now.
Well, like challenging your beliefs.
Yeah.
It has, from what I've seen, just online and stuff like that, and obviously, things should be taken with a pinch of salt, but everything has become very, very PC, very worried about hurting anyone's feelings.
Yeah.
Which I think to a degree is wrong.
Yeah, I think so too. But I also feel a fundamental like magnetic pull to that tendency in myself that I can't really shake. And I was listening to Jordan Peterson on Joe Rogan's podcast recently. He was on it recently, but he was on it before that, and I'm talking about the time he was on before. And he's like an expert in like cultural Marxism and that kind of thing. And he's a staunch opposer of political correctness and the gender pronouns and all of that stuff. And he was saying that teachers generally lean towards Marxism, and that's because Marxism has a really strong attractiveness to intellectuals with high levels of empathy. So if you are a person who like just empathizes with people, like if you humanize everybody and you just sort of, you know, you just have like that that ability to walk in someone else's shoes, or you know, that kind of thing, and you're intelligent, you're kind of lean towards Marxism because it makes sense to treat everyone equally and to not want to offend people and stuff. So I think that's why the education world has sort of swung in that way. And I see I'm not entirely against it, but in every debate I have about that, I think I lose, or at least I find myself being unable to disagree with certain points.
Yeah.
And yet I just can't shake that sort of feeling away, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like, especially in universities and stuff now, the kind of very PC nature, I would argue that it's hurting a lot of the people involved, because they're not learning to deal with conflict beyond kind of pressing their hands over their ears and going la 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 la.
Yeah.
Like that's how I see it, and how I would say that when they go into the world, the real world as it were, with a lot of other people that aren't necessarily as kind towards their feelings, it will be a very rude awakening.
Yeah, I agree. I think as well, it just has this effect where if you live in a bubble, like a lot of us do nowadays, if you meet up with an old school friend or something and it's great, and you realize they have an opposing opinion to you, or like an ideology that's slightly different to yours, you can just block them out of your life forever.
Yeah.
And like, while that's good in the short term, I don't think it has any real long-term benefits. Like it's not constructive for growth of people, like the growth of someone as a person. Yeah.
Like, you're never going to grow I don't think you'll ever grow as a person if you're not challenging yourself mentally, physically, emotionally.
Yeah.
Because that is the making of a good person, being able to kind of see that someone has a differing opinion. Like, you know, this is obviously very basic and a very broad brushstrokes, but if you're able to kind of talk it out with someone and establish, this is how we both feel, this is why we feel this way, even just, I understand your feelings, but I disagree, and come to that disagreement. But if you can't do that, then, you know, you're going to struggle with a lot of things in real life.
I used to see stuff like this, whatever controversial speaker is banned from speaking at a university, and I'd be like, well, that's good. That person should be banned because their opinions are hateful and stuff. And I guess I think people like me have a tendency to feel like actual palpable anxiety over seeing stuff like, oh, Donald Trump says this and this many people agree with him. Oh my God, how do we live in this world where this is a thing and this is like, you know what I mean? And I used to like feel quite down about that. Not the Donald Trump era, because I was more coming out of that phase by then.
Yeah.
But when I had Matt Christensen on this show, he's a guy who like has a different ideology to me. And yet I had like one of the most civil conversations I've ever had with another person. And afterwards, like, I felt really good that I spoke to a person who voted for Donald Trump. Like, I was like, wow, that was great. I actually learned a lot. I learned that the other side has like a whole range of like accommodating topics and conversations and things that we agree on and stuff. And that made me feel better about the world. As ridiculous as that is to say, like, that made me feel better about the world. And I think if I think people in universities could learn to just engage in a little bit more like civility rather than aggression.
Because again, it goes back to the whole, hands over the ears, la 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 kind of thing, where if you can't have a civil discussion with someone, then, how are you going to, say you're doing a business degree or whatever, how are you going to negotiate with someone if you can't listen to what they're saying if they've got a differing opinion?
Yeah. I used to actually get away with a lot of stuff in school, like saying things that were really controversial. Like, I remember, this would have been in like 2005, I think, when Ireland was booming, and there was what I mean by that is the economy in Ireland was booming. I don't know if people understand, but like, Ireland was had a really, really prosperous tiger economy back then. And the highest GDP in Europe, and like the highest average income in Europe and stuff. And we had to read this case study in our class when we were learning about tolerance and stuff. And it was this Australian woman talking about her time in Ireland. And like, she was saying that, Irish people have a tendency to just get too drunk too quickly, and Irish people do this and Irish people do that. And my teacher was like, all right, so what do you think? And I didn't even put my hand up. I just said, like, if she doesn't like it, she should go back to Australia. And everyone in my class like laughed, and some people were like, yeah, honestly. And my teacher like read me the riot act for it. And I think if that was said nowadays, I would have already been fired from my job, and that would be the end of me. And like, I obviously do not stand by that opinion now, but it's an opinion. It's like, it's not your job to shout me down for having that opinion. No. It's your job to engage in discussion with me and like, try and win me around. Like don't shut me down and call me a racist and stuff like that. Even though you can't be racist against an Australian, probably. Yeah,
maybe. Who knows?
You call that a knife? That's I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, like 100%. I mean, you probably remember my edgy teenage phase, because I was still strangely kind of going through that on Twitter. I used to say some very controversial things because I got a kick out of it. Do you remember that at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I used to say some wildly controversial things.
You used to say stuff that was so needlessly graphic.
Yeah. I was so angry all the time.
Yeah.
I've gone back through and like deleted all of those.
I was wondering.
And like got rid of everything that's attached to my name. But yeah, it was just this weird teenage phase where it was like, just everything was just constant screaming.
Yeah. Like
in my head. But yeah, it was so bizarre.
Did you, when you went to university, did you experience like suppression of free speech, like that kind of thing? Does that exist on a wide scale level in the UK like it does in America?
It didn't exist at my university. My university was predominantly male based, and it was we didn't have any like I mean, we had video game degrees, and obviously I did a film degree, but we didn't have any properly like liberal. We didn't have arts and drama and stuff like that degrees, which obviously I'm, broad brushstrokes again, but I think those are the kind of degrees that attract the kind of people that, do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, well, like,
classically, it's the more liberal colleges and stuff like that, and universities that have that problem, and those are the kind of degrees that are then at the liberal colleges.
Yeah, and it's not like the gaming community has coated itself in glory. It's not like the gaming community is coming to, to fucking safe space.
No, yeah, exactly. So it was a university full of edgy, just outside of teens.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, not a ton of PC-ness to be had, regardless of whether you wanted it or not.
What do you think the reaction would have been if, like, Anita Sarkeesian or someone was booked to speak at your college then? Do you think that she would be allowed to talk unopposed, or do you think people would be like, fuck you, feminism is bullshit and stuff? Like, do you think it would have gone the opposite way?
Honestly, I think my my university was probably the least controversial place possible.
Really?
I think that everybody was way more cared way more about themselves and we're way too busy to worry about anything else.
Yeah.
I think that if any radical, any strong-minded person, feminist came to speak, there would be little to no attendance.
Really? Yeah.
Just because nobody gave a shit. That was my university experience, and it's like I've been speaking to. I spoke to someone recently. I got to know someone who she goes to a college in the US, and it's renowned for. It was actually in the news recently for someone called a gun alert on a black kid who was carrying a hot glue gun because they thought it was a legitimate weapon.
Yeah. Like
the campus was shut down for 3 hours. Like all sorts, just because this black kid was carrying a hot glue gun, and she said that it's a nightmare the way that she has to, like, and that's not even like the tip of the iceberg for the kind of overly political correctness kind of stuff that happens, or not, you know. It's not the tip of the iceberg for the kind of things that happen at that university, and everyone is overly politically correct. Like a show like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is talked about in hushed tones because it's so out there.
Wow, really?
Yeah. Like, it's wildly PC. And she says you have to be on guard constantly, because if you say the wrong thing and offend someone, it's like if you don't check your privilege as a white person, you're going to get in trouble with someone. Someone will call you out for it publicly, like in a group of, you know, tens or hundreds of people, and then you've got to defend yourself and explain why you're not a racist.
Yeah, that's just not really great at all.
Yeah, it's not really constructive as a learning experience either.
No, it's the antithesis of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I get so bogged down by negativity when I try and actually diagnose the problem myself intellectually, because like I said, like I don't know what it is. It's an instinctive, like an actual pathological leaning to political correctness. It's not necessarily that I believe in suppressing everyone. It's that I am a person who just doesn't like to offend people.
Yeah. And
I'm not saying that I hide my real opinions because I'm afraid of offending people. I don't know. I'm tactful in the way that I talk and stuff.
Yeah.
I think so anyway. Like, I am not afraid to air any of my opinions, even if it'll piss people off. Like, I think my Dapper Laughs video and the Women in FIFA 16 video and stuff sort of show that. But if people are talking along the lines of something like, say, in some college in America, some university in America, they had like a long-standing resident in the college was referred to as master, and black people didn't like that, so they wanted the title to be changed. Yeah. Like, I think that's fair enough. Like, I that doesn't really bother me. That kind of makes sense to me, because as we sort of move out of the shadow of like long-standing institutionalized racism in the West in general, I suppose, mostly America, people do want to find out what their identity is, and they do want to try and seize hold of who they are and stuff. And if a word like that is, I don't know, if it just starkly reminds you of something that you don't want to be reminded of or be defined by, I sort of think it's fair enough. But at the same time, I don't think that it should be illegal to deny the Holocaust. Like, which makes it sound like I'm saying that I think we should be allowed to deny the Holocaust because I deny the Holocaust. But I mean, I think it's stupid to have a law that makes it illegal to think a thing. Like,
I think thought policing is a dangerous game.
Yeah, I think if you let people say the stupid things, then they'll get called on their stupid bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I think if Milo Yiannopoulos was around 10 years ago, when the world was less politically correct, I think people would be viewing him as the clown that he is. Like, I don't think he would have a following. I don't think he would be captivating people, because what he would be saying would just be outlandish and
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But I didn't experience that much in school. But, like, obviously, because I went to school, like, 10 years ago now.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Did you ever get told you weren't allowed to have certain opinions and stuff like that?
No, not particularly. See, the thing with... what I do worry about, and I worry about it quite a lot, is the fact that we are now in a time where if I say something on Facebook or on Twitter, that it could genuinely ruin my life or career.
Yeah.
Just because I've said a thing that might offend someone.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the fact that someone could, if I said something, I could say something on this podcast here tonight, and someone could be so offended they'll hunt down my real address, they'll find out where I work, they'll find out where I live, and they'll, bombard my life with anger and hatred, not necessarily equal to whatever I've said, and completely ruin my life. Get me fired from my job, all sorts. You've seen it. You've seen it on Twitter and stuff like that before. It happened in Canada a while ago. The guy had his life completely ruined for a tweet that he made that was not deserving of the vitriol that he received in response.
Yeah. I read a book about that called So You've Been Publicly Shamed by John Ronson, where he examines different cases, and one of the ones is the girl who tweeted while she was on a flight to South Africa, I think, or Kenya, or a country in Africa. She said, "On my way to Africa, hope I don't get AIDS, lol, just kidding, I'm white." And her joke was about the idea of someone having that as their opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, her joke was like, God, imagine someone being
imagine someone actually being this ignorant.
Yeah, and while she was in the air, like, her life was being systematically torn apart by people beneath her. Like, there were people turning up to the airport to film her reaction to being told that she was fired from her job. Like, that's the level that...
Yeah, that's wild.
Over a poorly worded tweet. And, like, I actually saw it. I guess this is a relevant thing that's happening now, because there was a bombing in Manchester last night at an Ariana Grande concert. Yeah. And a guy tweeted, I don't even remember his name. He tweeted,
it was a CNN journalist, wasn't it?
Was he? I thought he was a freelance.
He was a freelancer for CNN. Yeah.
He said, last
time it was something along the lines of breaking news, mass fatalities. Last time I listened to Ariana Grande, I almost died as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that.
And then he tweeted a follow-up to say, I thought Ariana Grande was a thing that you order in Starbucks, which is some terrific original bants right there. I never heard anyone make a joke like that before. Yeah. But yeah, like... Absolutely
no remorse for what he'd said in the wake of...
Yeah, so my first instinct there is, like, fuck that guy. But I see people who I follow and respect tweeting out his fucking details and stuff. And, like, I'm not down for that. Like, that makes me uncomfortable. I think it's really important in these situations to preserve your empathy over your outrage about everything. Yeah. Yes, obviously be upset and stuff like that. But don't fucking go like, I need to get revenge on this guy for saying this thing. Like, I just don't think that that's right. Even though it is a completely scummy thing to say. And, instinctively, I would be quite happy if he never worked again. But that's just an opinion that I have.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna...
that tweet is on a different level to, like, saying that that girl that's saying that she might get AIDS, but then she know because she's white. Like, that tweet is on a different level. I mean, it was within about half an hour of the terror attack, which is just unreal.
It's definitely a different level. Like that guy is trying to gain notoriety by capitalizing on grief.
Yeah.
Like, that guy is trying to ride a wave of like negativity and like people being upset and stuff, and like that's pretty low. But like, who are we to police? Like, who are we to like, you know, decide his fate as a result of that? That's something I don't like about the internet, is the way we just decide that something is okay.
The witch hunts are definitely not a good thing about the internet. Like, have you heard of the infamous "We Did It" Reddit meme?
No. Oh well, I'm sure I understand the I think I can get it just from the title. Yeah,
so it was in the wake of the Boston bombings, the marathon bombings.
Oh yeah.
And some groups of people on Reddit took it upon themselves to figure out who in the crowd was the Boston bomber.
Yeah.
And they narrowed it down to one guy who was a student. It turned out he'd been missing for a couple of days, and everyone assumed that was him having gone and started planning his thing and, you know, disassociating himself with from his family and stuff like that. And they hunted him down, put his name out there. His name went all over mass media, everything. And it turns out he was just quite depressed and he committed suicide shortly after.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Yeah.
God damn.
Yeah. So that is the kind of thing that can and does happen with this kind of internet witch hunt culture that has been provided to us by things like being able to dox people and the mass media as well, following on. And to be honest, the mass media fully encourage the Twitterati to go fucking insane half of the time. And the journalists have been guilty of it themselves. I mean, there was that time during the I think it was during the Bataclan attacks when they were doing it. They basically tweeted saying, or put it on air saying, "Oh, these people are hiding in this convenience store in the back room, and the killer's meters away."
Jesus Christ!
And it was like, what the fuck? They'd even reported the fact that he was using Twitter and like tweeting about his movements and stuff like that.
Fucking hell. It's like they're creating a fucking reality TV show.
Yeah, it's bizarre.
They're making a snuff horror movie.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I don't understand how we think it's okay to do that on Twitter. It's like I'm trying to imagine a situation in real life, in the actual world, not the virtual one, where something like that would happen. And like, can you imagine if, you know, when you come off a plane and the carousel is there and all the bags are going around, if like someone takes a bag that doesn't belong to him and then like everyone decides to just beat the shit out of that person, or like
picks up the wrong bag by accident,
or like everyone else decides to take a bag belonging to someone else because that one guy did, or something. I don't know. It's not a very well crafted metaphor I've come up with, but it's a job for the airport security. Like, it wouldn't be a job for the mob standing around the thing. Like, sure, you'd give the guy a gentle nudge and be like, "Excuse me, this bag belongs to this woman." But if at that point he was like, fuck that, and then everyone decided to beat the shit out of him until he died, I mean, that wouldn't be okay.
No.
It's absolutely the worst metaphor I've ever made in my life.
I can't say it's a great metaphor.
I wanted to just imagine a bunch of people on the conveyor belt beating the shit out of a guy until he died.
Wailing on this guy.
Yeah, I thought that would be pretty funny. But yeah, this doesn't relate to school at all. No,
we've gone on a very large tangent here.
I do remember in my primary school, this would have been like 1999 or the year 2000, the last time I truly felt happy. And we were, a few of my friends were like, we used to sit at the very bottom of the yard next to this big, huge brick wall. And I got like a Walkman, a Discman, which is a little CD player. For those of you who are, 18 and under, you've never seen one of these before. It's a little CD player that you put your earphones into, and it was fucking terrible. And even the ones that said jog-proof were not even...
Oh, jog-proof there's no such thing as jog-proof.
Yeah, complete fucking con. is what that was. And like what I mean by that, for those of you who don't know what a CD is, if you have a CD player and you walk while it's playing, the CD skips because the disc smashes off the thing. So it's just awful. But I had a Discman that came from America, and it was quite loud, so we used to listen to Limp Bizkit from my Discman down at the bottom of the yard. And one day we got it into our heads that it would be just so funny if we started a riot, and we all like collectively seemed to have this idea at the same time, and like the entire school was pretty much ready to do it. Bearing in mind we were like 9 years old, 10 years old. And it was because we weren't allowed to play wrestling in the yard. So
well, that'll do it, yeah.
Yeah. And like one person ratted everyone out. And then we all tried to find out who the rat was. And like we all started following these imaginary leads that we just invented out of thin air.
Good lord, on your very own witch hunt.
Yeah. And we eventually decided that it was some guy who, like some fucking, I think it was like some kid who had really bad front teeth or something like that.
Oh.
But it was just obviously that all the 9-year-olds were like, this guy looks different to us. Fuck him.
Yeah.
He did it. Here's why. And made up a bunch of like 9-year-old type excuses and reasons for it. And then, yeah, I can't remember how it turned out, what happened in the end. But
he didn't have his front teeth anymore.
Yeah. But when I think back about it, it definitely wasn't him. It was definitely that the teachers observed fucking like 150 kids like sitting at the back, gearing up for a riot.
Tooling up.
Yeah. Like, that's definitely what happened. And we were all like, what? How did they find out? And the internet is a lot like that a lot of the time.
It's a lot like that.
Yeah, when it, like all sorts of things, people turn politics into that. You know, like the fucking Pizzagate thing, or like most things that Alex Jones talks about. Even though I love that guy to death, but yeah, I don't. Do you have any weird stories like that from school?
Shit.
Yeah, putting you on the spot.
Yeah. No, I never. As a 9-year-old, I don't think I ever tooled up to riot. If I'm completely honest,
that's not even my only school riot story.
Of course, it's not. No, we had the usual fights and stuff like that, and there was a couple of moments. So I got into a bit of a pickle with basically, I think some kid bumped into me who was a lower year than me, and his older brother also went to the school. His older brother was in like an actual genuine real life gang. And yeah, so he was like
with a yardie.
Yeah, so he was like, my brother's gonna fight you, and I was like, all right, whatever. And then his brother actually confronted me, and I was like, oh shit, this is actually happening.
Yeah.
And he threatened to stab me outside of school, and I was like, well, that's not very nice.
At least it's outside of school, though.
Yeah. At least he let me finish my miserable day.
Yeah, that's decent.
No, yeah, it was all bizarre, and kind of I had to like run home. I fucking was genuinely scared that I was about to get stabbed.
Yeah.
And then it kind of like, it was actually, do you know what? I remember why it got forgotten, because it was the last day of the school year, like the entire school year. So we're going on like a 6 to 8 week holiday. And it literally just was completely forgotten after that. And I was just like, I was going back to school and I was like, a little bit worried he might remember and that I might get stabbed.
Yeah.
And then obviously I didn't get stabbed. But yeah, that was good fun.
That sounds fun.
Yeah, at a grammar school.
What?
At a bloody grammar school.
Is a grammar school beholden to a certain class etiquette, if you know what I mean? Like,
a lot of people will have you think that way, but obviously with the whole stabbing thing, no.
Yeah, stupid question.
But yeah, it's generally, the general stigmatism is that from other schools is that we were the nerds. Like, you've got to be fairly intelligent to go to a grammar school. I used to be fairly intelligent. God knows what happened, but you know.
You seem like an intelligent chap.
Thanks. I mean, you're wrong, but thanks. You seem like an intelligent chap, even though you've just told me that you failed physics and chemistry at A-level.
I failed both of those subjects also.
That's because they're the devil.
Here's the thing, right? I am willing to say on the record that I am an intelligent person. I think I know a little bit about a lot, and I think that just gives everyone a sort of shape of my intelligence, or at least the scope of my intellect, because I can speak at length about a lot of things that I have not even done a whole lot of research on, and that's not purely like a skill in being articulate or whatever. Like I know I'm intelligent, and I'm sure that people can tell that about me. I don't think I'm as intelligent as other people think I am, but whatever. Like I do know that I am definitely an intellectual, and I failed economics, I failed accounting, I failed French, I think I scraped past geography, got a fucking A in honours English, what's up, and I passed honours Irish, but yeah, I failed hard, like, oh yeah, and I did ordinary level maths, which is like, I'm pretty sure certain chimps could, like, not even kidding, I'm pretty sure that there are chimps that could be trained to pass that course. Like, you know, using simple arithmetic by taking away different crisps from them, they could, I don't know, I believe it's possible to get a chimp to pass ordinary level maths.
Yeah.
So I did that. Like, I was just terrible in school, so I don't think that your grades are a reflection of your intelligence at all. They're simply a reflection of your ability to study and regurgitate. I do think there are people who are not suited to academia. Like, I have friends who are really good at literally everything in the world that isn't like writing a thesis, a thesis or writing a poem or whatever. Like I have one friend who's dyslexic and like can barely spell his own name, but like if I ever needed anything, I would just ask him, and he would. Not only would he turn up, but he would do the thing, and it would be like nothing to him. And like I always ask him, like, where do you learn this stuff? And he's like, you just kind of figure it out as you go along. And it's, you know, it's just that real, like, I kind of feel like it's a masculine trait because it's something that I don't have, and I am the least masculine person that I know. So, yeah, I don't know, but that is a tangent I went on. So,
bring it back to you
the stabbing,
tooling it up, and my stabbing. I'm trying to think of like any other wild stuff that happened. I think I had like a really mundane childhood, to be honest. Like, that's so boring. Like, it's just bizarre.
Yeah, maybe you.
Like you'd think that something in living in, you know, going to school in London, something more interesting would happen.
Was there not something from your school that made the news?
No, not really. We were incredibly boring as people by my memory's sake. Like the only thing that I can think of, and I think I've told this story before, is from my primary school. We used to have a local veterinarian that used to come in to the school, and he'd bring all sorts of, you know, various animals and stuff. And he was called Mr. Mills, and we used to refer to him as the Animal Man. I think you know where this story's going, because I've told this story before.
I don't think you've told it on the podcast.
Oh, shit.
I don't think
so buckle up, kids. So, Mr. Mills, the Animal Man, used to come in, bring various children. Oh dear, I've given up the game. He used to bring in various animals, and you'd kind of, you know, tell you about them and let you play with them and stuff like that. And he was later arrested for quite a lot of child pornography and bestiality and all sorts. And that makes me feel so uncomfortable.
But did he say that traps were gay?
I never got to ask him.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Never visit him in prison or anything?
No.
Yeah, that's fucked
But
up.
yeah,
though.
that's probably the most fucking weird thing that ever happened.
I can, without any evidence to prove this, I know that I definitely went to school where some of the teachers were pedophiles.
Yeah.
I,
There were some very suspect teachers.
do you know, I went to 4 different schools.
Mm.
I moved around an awful lot. I think that's why I have so many stories like that.
Yeah.
But some of my teachers, man, were just like living with what I can only describe as major undiagnosed personality disorders. Like there was one teacher in one of my schools, and I can't say too much on this matter because his son was in my class, and also one of the listeners goes to that school and will know who he is.
Interesting.
I should not tell. I should
That's,
not actually.
That's probably more than you should have said.
Yeah. he used to just fucking hate me, and like with good reason to some extent. Like, I was not a good kid in school. Like, I did not ever care about what the teacher was saying. You could not motivate me to do fucking anything. But like, I also love knowing stuff, and when I did know something, I would answer. And it got to a stage where, like, I honestly think he hated me because I was from Dublin, and I'm not actually a Dublin native. I wasn't born in Dublin, but I had spent most of my, like, all my teenage years in Dublin up to this point. And in this school, this fucking guy would just never get off my back about how Dublin was such a kip and Dublin is a hole of a place and all. And I was like, I remember one day I was just like, look, man, it's the capital city. It has everything. Like, every band that comes to Ireland plays in Dublin. It's where the Irish football team play. It's where the rugby team play. It's where one of the biggest stadiums in Europe is. Like, it's where all the industry in this fucking country is. Like, why do you give me such a hard time about being from there? And he was like, oh, well, the crime rate and blah, blah. And, like, that's how I know that he legitimately had a problem with Dublin. Like, it, you know, it wasn't just that he was ribbing me or anything like that, and I didn't understand it. It's he legitimately thought that the people from there were lesser people. And, like, the fucking irony of it is that I was born, like, 20 minutes away from this place. Like, so, whatever. But, yeah, I remember, like, he used to ask questions, and I would answer them, and he would ignore me until somebody else answered, and then he would say that they were right.
Yeah.
Like, man, just so petty. Imagine being in charge of, like, nurturing fucking teenagers, like, educate, like, you know, a really important part of their formative years.
Learning, yeah.
And just being a fucking prick about it, like, to that extent. and like, he wasn't even the worst. I had way worse. I had teachers who, like, I am genuinely surprised are not in jail. I had one teacher who is in jail.
Shit.
She impersonated a police officer.
Oh God! Yeah, I'll do it.
Her roommate was a police officer, a guard. That's what they're called in Ireland.
Yeah.
And she, like, took her uniform one day and went to a shop and tried to get petrol for free because she was a police officer.
Oh, that's not smart.
Yeah, and I don't know that she actually got to jail. Like, obviously she got charged with the crime and everything. I don't know if that's the type of thing you can get away with on bail, or like maybe she was suffering some kind of stress or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's a thing that actually happened from one of my teachers.
Yeah. That's impressive.
Yeah, it's insane. Oh man, I had so many fucking weird teachers that definitely were suffering from mental disorders, and I really do think that being in charge of a bunch of, like, hormonal teenagers would absolutely drive me to live out a mental disorder as well, to be honest, because I would say it's such a stressful job.
Yeah, that, like, there was so many teachers that were so very interesting as people. Yeah. Like, they were bizarre characters. There was, my German teacher was the oddest man. Anybody that went to my school will attest to the fact that he was a very strange man. But he had quite severe anger issues.
Yeah.
He had the rumor was he always used to sniff the back of his hand, and the rumor was that he had lavender, kind of like oil drops that he rubbed into the back of his hand, and the smell of lavender calmed him down. Like he'd cycle into work on one of those fold-up bikes, even though there was no need for it to fold up at all. And he'd shower in the boys' changing rooms in the mornings when he got into work, and he'd come in to like first class with shaving foam behind his ears and stuff like that. He was overly loud. His car, when he drove it into work, was just filled with oranges.
Oranges, why not?
Like, yeah, like, it's so bizarre. Like, he used to carry around like pictures of his, like, because he got a new class in year 9 when you start learning a second language, so he'd have to learn like a set of year 9 pupils' names, and he'd carry around their year 8 photographs with their names underneath them so that he could remember them, which, you know, probably just to help him remember him, but obviously as kids we were like, nah, paedophile.
Yeah.
But yeah, weird chap. Very good teacher. Terrifying man. But yeah.
I had go on.
So yeah, only ever had good things to say about me though.
Oh really?
Yeah. That's worrying.
Yeah. Did a bunch of adults ever make you point to a doll where he might have...
Just show us on the doll.
Yeah. I had a teacher who really openly hated his life, and I remember one day he came in and said, right lads, just do your homework or study or something, because the wife had another kid last night. And one guy said, sir, who's the father? And the teacher pinned him up against the wall.
Oh shit.
Like right in his face, and threatened to murder him. So that was pretty good. I also, a janitor once threatened to assault me, and when I told the principal didn't care because the principal agreed with him. I had this one teacher that was such a fucking cunt, this guy. And he was all about his flashy lifestyle, even though it's like, we know you're a fucking teacher.
I know, bro. Calm down.
It's not me saying that being a teacher is a shit job. It's just don't act like you're a millionaire. You know what I mean? Like it's so stupid when you're in an industry where your wages are quite well documented, and then for you to
being
act,
not very good.
Yeah, like you just act like you're better than that somehow. And I remember he got a new phone, and this was the around 2004 when like phones with cameras on them were becoming a really big deal.
Yeah.
And like obviously at our age we weren't given those like yet, because A, parents hadn't figured out that, you know, the whole camera thing wasn't just a fad that was going to go away, and B, they were really expensive, like proportionally to So anyway, this guy, he had this phone and he took it out, and the whole class was like, oh sir, phone, oh what about the phone? He was like, shut up, nobody talk to me about my phone. He put the phone back in his pocket, right? And then he waited to a point where everyone was looking down, because he was a science teacher, and he was doing this experiment about the way that the color black absorbs heat faster than the color white. So everyone was looking down at his desk, and he took the phone out of his pocket and like sort of held it openly out from his chest, and then moved it into his other pocket. Like literally just to be like, look at my phone. And then like he would always talk about how his car is really fast, or you know what he lifts at the gym, like that kind of shit. It's like,
who does that?
You're so pathetic, you know. I'm not saying that you're pathetic because you talk about how much you lift at the gym. I'm saying that in the context of everything else that he did.
In the context of bragging to children.
Yeah, exactly. Which also is kind of what you do, but still.
But on the internet. At least I'm not in a position of power.
Plus, I think that you're pathetic irrespective of that. So, it's totally...
Join the club. Join the club, it's alright, getting cute.
So, geez. I'm deliberately not talking about the more extreme bad cases of teachers that I had, because I live back in the town where I went to the school where most of the bad shit went down.
They will come and get you.
Not them, but their families will. Like the really annoying thing is that because of Steve and how big like
Yeah,
he is in this town, it means that we're all like interconnected now, and I have
Yeah.
all of these sort of extended network like of connections with people who I ordinarily wouldn't really socialize with at all,
Yeah.
but because we're all linked through this sort of community now,
Yeah.
I have to be really careful about the shit that I say, and I hate it. So I don't talk
So you're
about...
you're living out this PC nightmare of mine.
I don't know if is that political correctness or is that just basic politeness.
I think it's something akin to the political correctness thing, but not quite.
Yeah, I don't really think that they're...
It's a similar scenario.
It's a similar feeling, definitely, but
Yeah.
it's not a similar
Atmosphere.
Yeah, exactly. It's not Orwellian. It's more like Hugh Grant level awkwardness type thing. It's more that I don't want to be stuck in a lift with the nephew of the teacher that I
And for them to just turn to you and go, so.
Yeah. One of the lads
shit.
was telling me that. Yeah, that's sort of the
Yeah, I can see that.
certainly annoying, but I have some other stories from school. There was an Italian guy in my school who was a boxer, and he boxed me once, and the bruise was bigger than like from my shoulder down to my elbow. He used to always, every time the teacher would tell him to do something, he would say, "Sir, that's racist." And I thought it was incredible at the time, because when you're a kid, you'll take any bit of leverage you can over a teacher, because they are your superior and they are the authority. And if you can make them feel a shred of like worry or doubt or anything that might undermine that position of authority, like that is a game point. That's what you're looking
Yeah,
for.
that is the end point of
yeah.
schooling. But how necessary do you think that a university education is to succeed in life in our countries?
So obviously the answer is very and not very at all, like depending on the field that you're in. But I will say honestly that my career has been really dramatically hindered by the fact that I don't have a university degree. I think that my potential as a worker is way higher than what I'm in now, and I'm in a good job now, and like I've forged out a pretty decent career path for myself. I don't necessarily know that it's the thing that I want to be doing, but here I am. I'm good at it.
Yeah.
I know that I could walk into a job that pays a lot more than the one that I'm on, and like I'm on more money than I've ever been on in my life. So like things are good, but damn, they could be so much better if I wasn't such a fucking idiot. And I didn't try and like run away from every problem that I ever had, and I didn't move so fucking often. And if I had just had the foresight and like the discipline to understand my situation, like there are people from my college class that went on to get degrees, and like I don't want to speak ill of them, but like I'm smarter than all of them combined, pretty much. Which is like, and that's not bitterness from me. Like I don't regret it at all. I have no regrets, and I don't think I'm better than any of those people. They've all gone on to, do really well with their careers and stuff, and that's awesome. My potential is bigger than theirs in my estimation, and I don't know. That's just, I did what I did, and as a result of that, I am not at the level that I should be at. So, for me personally, would have been way better had I gone to university, but it's not necessary,
Yeah.
What do you think?
For the industry that I'm in, I do not believe that a university degree is important or relevant at all.
Really?
No.
That's interesting.
Not at all. I think that I could be 4 years ahead of where I am.
Wow.
Currently.
Really? I always got the impression that your foothold in the industry that you're in now was as a result of your degree?
It came from my work, so it's a mixed bag. It's a really mixed bag for me.
Yeah.
So like my work ethic, which came from a mixture of university and the opportunity that I was afforded at university, has helped me massively in the workplace.
That's a good point too. Like that is a factor that we don't really consider.
So yeah, so I initially got my my first job in the industry was via a placement that I got at my university through one of my lecturers, through going to her and saying I would like to do a year out. So I was already set a year back by the fact that I'd missed out a year to go back to college after I failed English, physics and chemistry. And
drama.
No, I got a B in drama.
I'm such a dickhead. Trying to throw another grenade at you.
I think you'll find, sir. But yeah, so it was like I got my first job there where I worked my way up fairly quickly. So I was a runner and I worked my way up to become head runner at this company. So I was then in charge of the other runners, even though I'd been there for less than 4 months at the time.
But you still had to report to the road runner, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. Constantly trying to get like a fucking what's that? A recon on what that coyote is building now.
Yeah.
What this fucking idiot.
What he's up to now. But yeah, so it was from there and from that job then that I developed like a real strong kind of like a 9 to 5 mindset in terms of my work ethic.
Yeah.
Which then when I went back to university for my final year, even though I was lagging from my previous years, that work ethic then took me storming straight to a first with relative ease. A
first is like an A, right? Like an A.
Yeah. First with honours, so it was like an A plus. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not necessary, but it helps to a degree. I also know people that regret not going to university because they feel like they missed out on an experience.
Yeah.
And university is definitely an experience. I also fucked myself over nicely because I was part of the first wave of the £9,000
excellent
group.
So you're still paying off your...
Oh, I haven't even started yet. I don't even... Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I've got all of that fun to come.
Yeah, that's a really fucking stupid thing about the UK. The fucking student debt that you guys end up saddled with is like a moral crisis.
Yeah, so...
Actually, it's not the UK, it's England.
They
don't have
England.
it.
Scotland's free.
Yeah.
Yep. Everything has been put in perspective again by this girl that I've been speaking to, who's goes to this American college, because her tuition fees, mine were $9,000 a year. Her tuition fees are $60,000.
Oh God!
A year for 4 years.
Jesus, sweet Jesus.
Yeah.
Man,
so when you think it's bad, it can always be worse.
You can get a fucking high level degree in this country for like €1,500.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not true. €1,500 a year, say. I mean, like you could realistically do it in under $6,000, I'd say. And like there's all kinds of grants and like access courses and little like shortcuts you can take and stuff.
Yep. It's wild.
Yeah.
So
ridiculous.
If anyone is listening and is deciding whether they should go to university or not, weigh your options properly. Like, actually give it some genuine thought. Because when I went, I felt like it was the only option. I felt like that was the option. If I didn't go to university, I was a failure. And that's not true. But also, there are a lot of things where the university will help you and will set you up to do well in life.
Yeah.
As long as you treat it with respect.
I think if I had developed the work ethic that university could have instilled in me, I really feel like I could just be so much better at everything I do. Like, I tried to consolidate my lack of university by succeeding in YouTube, which was a ridiculous weight of expectation to place on myself, and also required a phenomenal level of self-belief that I don't know where I got that from at the time. But if I had gone to university and then went into YouTube, honestly, I think if I had the discipline from university and did YouTube with that in mind, I think I would have been a success.
Yeah, I feel like university will turn you into one of two people, and you'll either become someone who actually, does the work in plenty of time and works hard to get the work done early, or you will procrastinate to the last minute and spend, 13-hour shifts. Like, I watched a lot of my university mates spend 13, 14-hour shifts in the library while I'd handed my dissertation in a week prior.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
It will send you one of two ways.
I've always been like a person that never really had to try in school. Like, I got really good grades without having to try, because I don't know what it is about my brain and personality type, but I am just set up to succeed in academia. Like, I am so good at that, like, when I prime myself and stuff. The reason I failed so hard on my final exams was that I barely fucking turned up to class, and like I really just fucked about for 2 years basically, and also went to a joke of a school where there were ridiculously stupid teachers and riots and all sorts of stuff. I spoke about the riot before on the previous school episode, I think, so if you're interested, go check that episode out, because that also was a really good one. Even though I confessed earlier to not remembering any of it, but I have no doubt that the people who enjoyed it were very grateful in their comments and stuff.
Indeed.
So
I guess what I'm trying, I think if I could sum up each of my years at university is like, first year doesn't matter, if I'm honest. Have fun, enjoy it, get the work that you need to get done. Enjoy your time. Second year, pay attention, because you'll actually learn shit that you'll need. Go to fucking lectures, because they're going to cost you 160 quid or something like ridiculous like that. A lecture. Fucking turn up. Take a placement year. I'd recommend a placement year. Fucking placement year's done me great. I made good friends, and I've fucking made a lot of money to go travelling. So if that's one of your aims, go take a placement year.
What's 10 out of 10. Do you call it the Erasmus? Do you call it that in the UK?
Erasmus? Or like UCAS?
No, UCAS is like the application process, isn't it? No, Erasmus is where you swap places with someone in a foreign university.
I never did anything like that, but I know a few people that did.
Yeah, it's an EU initiative anyway, so I don't think the UK will be profiting from that anytime soon.
I know a couple of people that studied abroad, and they thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah. I think that would be pretty cool. It'd be such a culture shock that it would, like, I don't know. Force you into doing certain things. Force you out of yourself, out of the box. And stuff.
100%,
Yeah. I also think that's something I could have gained from university had I went, just an ability to socialize better. Not that there's anything wrong with my social skills, but I definitely lean so hard on introversion that I just fail to even attempt to talk to people sometimes. But I feel like university would have suited me well, but alas, it was not to be, and I'm still going to be a millionaire at some point.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, university is not for everyone. Straight up. Because one of my mates, Freddie, he went straight from college at straight from sixth form at 18 or whatever, and went straight into working as a junior, not investment broker, but it's something similar to that. And you know, he's 24 now, and he's making way more money than I am.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah. My cousin Dara, who was on an episode quite recently, has the greatest fucking life right now. And I wish he could have spoke about it more, but we got so fucking blasted on the show. We couldn't get to the point we were trying to make. But he participated in this Enterprise Day at a bank in the town that he lives in, like last Friday or something, I think it was. And he's after signing up a whole bunch of new clients and meeting potential investors and stuff. And like, the dude is going places, and it is like, it's very inspiring to see. But it was so funny because I said to him that went from 0 to 100 real quick, and he was like, actually it didn't. It went from baby steps to baby steps to baby steps. It went from me signing one single client and training him out of the shed in my house. Yeah. Like you know, and then and I was like, yeah, that is true. I only see you a few times a year, and every time I do, there's a new addition to your life, like some new thing that's great, you know. But yeah, like you'll see. Is it KSI who has done talks in universities about why you don't need university or whatever?
Yeah.
I always got a little bit weary of that because
I always found that very odd. Someone who never went to university, and I'm not going to say he's lucky, but he very much hit something at the right time.
Yeah,
like, very much hit it perfectly at the right. He was the right place at the right time.
You're not all going to become KSI.
He's got a great work ethic, and he built a character that was loved by a lot of teenagers, and he absolutely hit the market perfectly. But there is no doubt in my mind that he would probably have a different perspective or opinion if he went to university himself. Like, if he had gone to university and still made it big, then he'd be preaching that university was probably what did it. Like, it's all a matter of opinion.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting to see people like that giving talks about why university is not necessarily like important or whatever.
Yeah, show me someone, and it's like a survivor basis, like saying people like looking at people like KSI who didn't go to university, or Bill Gates. I don't even remember, but like I remember seeing something. Bill Gates dropped out of high school or something like that.
Yeah, like I think
you only ever hear about the anomalies.
Yeah,
you never hear about the millions that fucking end up working at McDonald's.
Duncan Bannatyne, he like dropped out of school at 16 or something.
Yeah.
I do think there's some sort of it's like proportionally the number of entrepreneurs who were college dropouts or high school dropouts is really high, but I'm not sure if I'm not sure if it actually is proportionally high, or if it's just that we can rattle off a list of people who didn't go to university.
I mean, you know, you can rattle off a list of 5 or 6, but think about the millions and millions that didn't like make anything of themselves.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is that I think in the pool of entrepreneurs there are a lot of dropouts, but in the pool of dropouts there are not a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
which is
maybe, you know, becoming an entrepreneur is a result of not having any marketable skills for anybody respectable to hire them. Like,
they do say that a lot of entrepreneurs can be empowered by what's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is this idea that like it's like the less you know about a thing, the more confident you are at talking about it. And I always, when I'm trying to explain it to people, I always say, think about FIFA YouTubers and the way they talk about footballers, and the fact that so many of them do not have a fucking clue about football. And I don't mean about tactics and precision and accuracy. I mean about who plays for what team. I mean about what stats,
what position people actually play.
Yeah, like, it's insane. The only reason that they do it is because they believe that they know the thing, that they don't even have to learn. Like, they don't know what it is to not know it. So they just assume that they... In fact, they don't know what it is to actually know it. That's why they think that they know it. And that's called the Dunning-Kruger effect, and they say that entrepreneurs
Nice.
have that in spades because they
Yeah.
sort of just put plans into motion, and they're so confident because they're not at all held back by, you know, a lack of understanding, because they don't know what it is to actually understand something.
Yeah.
So that's a thing.
It's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, it is. So that's another thing that lets people get ahead in life. So
Yeah.
watch out for that, because
Almost the idea that ignorance is bliss.
yeah, literally, people who are less talented than you make more money than you.
Fact.
Talking to all the listeners here,
Yeah.
you all suck. Your life is. I don't know why I started saying that. I'd really like to know what our listeners study in college.
Yeah.
Like,
Or in university,
yeah,
or wherever you
well,
are.
in Ireland we just say college.
Fair.
Like, we don't ever say
Yeah.
uni or university, just college.
Yeah.
But I don't know, if you've made it this far in and you feel like commenting, I look forward to reading the 3 comments from people who tell me what they study.
I'd be interested in receiving my £1,800.
Yeah. You can send that to jack@paypal.com
Yeah, that'll get there.
/gov/UK.
Yeah, that'll make it to me.
For real though, leave comments. Say what you're
Yeah.
Say what you're
Yeah, I'd be
studying or what
interested.
you aspire to be in life, so that myself and Jack can sit down, have a look at them all, and laugh to ourselves at how you know nothing and are going to fail.
Oh,
Also,
that's worryingly true.
I think this episode may have gone up on Thursday night. So
Oh, really?
yeah,
That's exciting.
because I'm going to England land.
Of course you are.
Yeah, on Friday, so I won't be there to set the podcast live. And anytime I get someone else to do it, I always put them under immense pressure and swear at them.
Inevitably, they crack.
Yeah, it's because I'm always really drunk. If ever like the podcast isn't going up on a Friday night, it's because I'm drunk. And
It's fair, really.
yeah, but if it's in someone else's hands, I go crazy. So yeah, that's what I do for you, listeners.
The trials and tribulations.
Yeah. Well, what would I even title this episode? Because like I don't think the first half was even about education at all.
We talked a little bit about education.
Yeah.
Just title it "We Got Distracted."
I'm not titling it that. I'll just call it the education system.
Yeah, the education system has failed us and ruined our ability to concentrate on a single topic.
Yeah. And the drugs didn't help. Or did they?
Or did they? The drugs definitely helped.
Yeah. Richard Ashcroft was lying when he said the drugs don't work.
Yeah.
Tina lies on the ground. She lies there forever. She likes the sound. Tina knows the devil. Tina loves the violence of living in the country. She likes it is so far from me. Tina has a story down. I really thought I knew it, and it changed around. And I was almost through it. Sunshine on my back is the only kind I sunshine.